be advised, the opinions and views of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
I used to be big. A name brand drug backed by millions of dollars in advertising. Starring in my own TV ads, treating people's illnesses, making everyone run through fields of flowers with big smiles on their faces. Animated pills dancing to badly re-recorded top 40 hits. I was a queen, and people everywhere begged their doctors for me. For me. And then one day, my patent expired, so the drug company turned me into a generic. But I'm still me. I'm safe and effective. I'm FDA approved. I cost less. A lot less. And doctors and pharmacists everywhere adore me.
Ask your doctor or pharmacist if generics are right for you.
Brand name drugs. Huh? They're just generics.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Philippines Uncut. I'm your host, Buddy Cunanan. Now, tonight's topic is health and wellness. You know, folks, we all value our health. And these days, with the rising cost of medications to either prevent or cure an illness, these costs have become very high and a heavy burden for most households. Now, most times we can scrimp and save on many things, when it comes to health and wellness, we often spare no expense, even in the face of generic and inexpensive alternatives. And tonight, you're going to learn about generic medicine and how, in this case, branded is not always better. And so joining us to talk about this very interesting topic are Mr. Teodoro Ferrer, who is the president of Generica Group of Companies. Good evening, sir. Welcome to Philippines Uncut.
Yes, good evening, Buddy. I am delighted to be here.
Thank you, sir. And joining him is Miss Mary Rose Ulit, who is the corporate pharmacist of the Generica drugstores.
Hi, good evening.
Welcome to Philippines Uncut. Okay, a little background first about yourselves. First, you, Miss Ulit, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, I'm a pharmacist by profession. I've been working for the past, I think, 18 years. I've been with the company for the past 8 years, one of the pioneer employees of Generica.
What is your duty, your principal duty with the company?
I'm the corporate pharmacist of Generica. I screen all the products that we sell in our stores. That's basically my work.
Okay. And you, sir?
Well, I am the president of Generica Drugstore Group of Companies. I am also one of the major stockholders. And we started this as an advocacy 8 years ago.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, what were you previously, where were you connected? Because you said 8 years ago. So.
Yes. I was in corporate with Ayala Corporation for for more than 30 years. I was about to retire, and I was thinking of a leisurely retirement. And then somehow the idea of Generica came about. Yes.
You spoke about advocacy.
Yes.
Why was this an advocacy for you 8 years ago?
Well, because at that point in time, actually, I was, coming from Ayala Corp retirement, I knew I was going to get a nice retirement benefit, so I did not really have to work very hard anymore. No? But when I saw the need, together with the other major stockholders, saw the need that many Filipinos were actually not familiar, not aware about the value of generic medicines, and they were still buying branded products at very high prices. And many times, because of limited income, they could not really afford, let's say, to buy the full dosage to get well.
Wow, and that's very bad,
And
especially in the
that's very
case of,
bad.
let's say, antibiotics.
Yeah.
No?
Correct, exactly,
Yes.
exactly. So that's where it started. No? But thinking back, I think the other reason now, it's coming to me, My father was a general practitioner in Zamboanga City until he retired at the age of 83. What I remember about him is his clinic would be filled every day because he was charging, well, you will not believe this, no? For a long time, he was charging 2 pesos professional fee.
When was this, sir? This has been.
Well,
must
he
have
was,
been
a long, long time ago. But remember, 83, he died 10 years ago.
Yes, yes.
So before that, he was charging 2 pesos. So you can imagine all of the indigents and so on just flocking to him to get for consultation and so on. And after a very long period of time, we were telling, Pa, maybe you should increase your 2 pesos because at that time the regular fee was 150,
Yes,
200, increase your 2 pesos. So finally, he agreed. He made it 5 pesos.
Okay. And but the
Reasonable
problem with that
price
is the
increase.
professional fee is low, but when the patient leaves the office, the doctor's clinic,
Yeah.
and goes to buy medicine,
Yes.
then
Yeah, and well, at that time, I think it was mostly branded, but that was what he was doing. It was really his way of helping the community. And I think, looking back, that was probably one reason why, when the idea of Generica came, I readily agreed. Because none of us, there were 5 children,
Yes.
nobody became a doctor. But maybe this was the way
Yes.
that at least somebody in the family would be able to help so many people with their health concerns.
and an excellent advocacy at that. Now,
Yes.
you said 8 years ago. So where is Generica today, 8 years after? Tell us about the company. I mean, how
okay.
big are you now?
Well, the first thing you should know is we started from scratch. We did not know anything about pharmaceuticals.
Wow,
We did
okay.
not know anything about retail.
Okay. Wow.
So it was in that sense a real startup, and the first office was in a 2-bedroom residential apartment in Goodwill subdivision along Sukat.
Yes. Wow.
And that was then, 8 years ago. Now, we have 261 operating stores, plus 30 under construction. We are staying in an 3-story office building in Cervantes compound between Cunanan and Sukat. It's about 2,000 square meters, and we have a warehouse a little bigger than that.
How many were you operating when you first started? How many employees did you have?
I think we have around 5, and then the stores, I think we have around almost 9 store employees.
And today?
Well, today, including the company stores, we have over 300 employees. This is our own,
Yes,
not
yes.
counting the franchise stores, which typically have about 5 employees each. So if you add them all up, maybe it's more than 1,500
Excellent.
people.
And not just introducing generics, but even creating jobs and employment for our economy, for our people. Now, this is a very gutsy thing for you, the guys, to enter
Yeah.
into. You said no retail experience, no
Exactly.
pharmacy
No pharmacy.
experience.
Yeah.
And coming into let's say, I'm trying to picture myself 8 years ago. When you think about the Philippines, and I'll say it, when you think about drugstores, you think Mercury Drug.
Yes.
They are really the dominant player, the major player, and they
Exactly.
have a stranglehold in many different areas in the Philippines. Now,
Yes.
how big a challenge was it for you to start this business, given that you had this one big player already there?
Well, the big difference is that we were gonna focus on generic medicines, offering the customers something that is much more valuable, cost-effective compared to branded.
Okay.
And so in a way, we were selling something different. Quality, generic medicines, very affordable prices. And in fact, in our mission statement, we're talking about superior customer service and with a strong sense of social purpose. That's why I'm saying it's an advocacy. First of all, on the quality generic medicines at very low prices, and then giving the customer a much better service than he would get from
Yes.
other drugstores. And then the community services, social purpose is really an integral part. Of
How many generic drugstore chains do you have now in the Philippines? I mean, how many
Chains?
Yes, of generic drugstores.
Well, there
How many players are there in your niche?
I think we were the first one from the private sector because we had about 15 stores, already company stores, before somebody else came in.
Okay.
Then recently, apparently, it's becoming kind of a fad.
Fad.
Mas marami na
Well,
nag-o-open.
You see generic
For
drugstores
generics,
sprouting
for generics.
Well, almost 300 branches in 8 years. I want to get into this one. Now, what was the most difficult thing about starting this business? The biggest challenge, really?
We had to learn the business. Remember, we did not know anything. The original.
No, but you got consultants, I'm sure.
No,
you got
no.
outside,
We got people from the industry,
Yeah.
like pharmacists. Malot is one of our original employees, and people from the trade, from Metro Drug and so on, who then we established relationship with suppliers. Then we did the store manuals. I mean, you're really doing it, and I do not recommend it as an approach for most people because, but really,
No,
it's very difficult.
Absolutely,
very difficult.
absolutely.
Yes.
And I
Please.
think if I may add, the biggest problem that we encountered before when we were just starting is the resistance of the community when it comes to generic medicines, because they have this perception that generics are not it doesn't have the same efficacy and it's not safe to take.
Yes.
So that was the biggest challenge that one of the biggest challenge that we have to face
Yeah.
during that time, explaining to the consumers that generic is the same. So because there is a resistance, definitely there is.
Yeah.
Now, okay, let's talk about generic medicine. For the sake of our viewers, when you say, let's define it first.
Okay.
When you say generic medicine, what do you mean exactly?
Generic is the exact equivalent of the innovator product. It is comparable in terms of quality, safety, efficacy, and of course the use. It has the same use.
So what you're saying is that if there is a branded product, a branded pharmaceutical, it has a generic counterpart.
Not for all, because of the patent, of course. But for those that are off patent already, there are available generic counterparts for every innovator product
Let's
or
talk about this-
originator.
Okay, let's talk about this patent. How long does a pharmaceutical company, have patent over a certain product?
Usually, patent lasts for about 20 years.
So for 20 years,
You have the
no
exclusive-
generics
yeah.
can come out.
You have the control of the market, so you can price it at whatever price you want. You feel that the market will buy it.
Can you give us some examples of companies that have started? It's okay. I mean, these are products that are out there that
Okay.
have started and then have now gone off patent.
Okay. Classic example is Norvasc.
Okay, which is explained to for our
Yes.
viewers. I know Norvasc is, but I wanted to come from you.
Okay, Norvasc is an antihypertensive manufactured by, can I say the name
Sure,
of
yes,
the
yes,
manufacturer? Manufactured by Pfizer. Way back, I think, around 2004, 2005, the price of Norvasc 5 milligrams is about 40 plus. That was the time when Pfizer still have the patent for the Norvasc. So when the patent expired, I think that was 2005 or 2006, the first generic amlodipine, which is the generic name of Norvasc, is priced at $985.
Wow.
Okay,
From
as of-
46 compared to
Yes.
almost 50 pesos. Okay.
As of the moment, we have, at Generica, we were selling a bioequivalent amlodipine at the price of 5 pesos. So,
And I think
you see,
Norvasc today, made by Pfizer, it retails for about, I think,
20
to
something.
25.
Yeah, because of the MDRP.
thereabouts.
Because of the government sets the price for Norvasc. They put a ceiling for all amlodipine, and the price is around 22 pesos.
Now, when we talk about savings, how big savings across the board, generally, Mr. Ferrer, can you get from, let's say, going to your drugstore as opposed to and buying generic as opposed to buying branded?
Yes. Well, just the example of Norvasc and amlodipine, 20 against 5.
But
no?
is that a norm? Is that the average, or can the difference
Actually,
be
it
bigger?
varies.
It varies. It varies.
It can be bigger, it can be smaller. Depends
Yeah.
on how many players
Yes.
you have for a certain molecule.
Correct.
Okay, okay.
But the bottom line, you have huge savings by shifting to generic medicines. And so long as you're selective about where you buy, In other words, you buy from
Reputable
a
companies.
reputable drugstore or what, then you will get well as if you buy the originator product. Yes.
Yes, yes. Now, what are the most common types of or the most sought after generic medicine?
Okay, the very basic. For antibacterials, we have the amoxicillin,
Antibiotics.
co-amoxiclav, the antibiotics. For the cardiometabolic, for hypertension, we have of course, the amlodipine, nifedipine, losartan. For diabetes, metformin, glycoside, glibenclamide, the very basic.
And then, of course, you have the paracetamol.
Yeah, paracetamol,
Yes.
carbocysteine, ambroxol.
Now, okay, let's talk about paracetamol. Are all paracetamols the same? Let's say if I buy 500 mg,
You'll
500
get the-
milligrams of, let's say, branded paracetamol as opposed to your 500 mg
500.
generic, is it the same?
Yes, definitely it's the same.
What about all these things that extra strength? They say extra strength this or extra strength that?
Extra
or
strength is just you're just putting additional milligrams, but it's basically when you claim it's 500 milligrams, it has to be 500 milligrams because BFAD will test this.
Yes.
They're going to test if it's really 500 milligrams.
Why are branded medicines so expensive as compared to, let's say, generic medicine, Mr. Ferrer?
Well, I think that was said earlier. For about 20 years, you have exclusive rights. Essentially, it's a monopoly. You are the only one you're the owner of the patent. You're the only one who can manufacture, who can sell that product. So, whatever the market is willing to pay, you charge.
No, but some people would
Yes.
say from the pharma side that they
Yes.
spent a lot of
the research and
R&D for
development.
research and development, a lot of man hours in testing this product and all that. And of course, they have to recover their
Yeah.
investment,
Yeah,
their
it's true.
cost. Now, is that a valid
Yeah,
argument?
it's a valid,
Yes.
but you have 20 years to, so more or less, basically, you have recovered whatever expenses you have incurred previously because of your research and development.
Yes, you have recovered many times, whatever that is.
And then another thing is because of the marketing, you have to spend a lot in promoting a new
course,
product.
of
So with
course.
generics, since the product has been existing for quite some time, 20 years, so you don't have to spend so much for marketing.
So how does your company now get its message across? Do you do because
Okay.
the pharma companies they obviously advertise their
Yeah,
individual
yeah.
drugs and pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, yeah.
How do you guys do it in the generic
Well,
business?
We conduct a lot of awareness
Grassroots
talks, education to schools, to barangays, to
Communities.
companies, community, where we explain the concept of generic medicine. And once they learn the reason branded is so high because it's a monopoly, and when the patent is gone, everything goes down. Then a lot of the skepticism disappears. No? Parang
Kaya
it's
pala.
an aha moment.
pala.
Kaya pala mura ang generics. So we do a lot of that, no. Plus ano pa ba?
How about, let's say, I know for a fact that
This is
doctors often ally themselves, pharmaceutical companies ally themselves with doctors because the
Correct.
doctors are really the ones who prescribe the medicine,
Correct.
who tell me to buy, like if a doctor tells you to buy this expensive medicines for my health,
Yeah.
of course I'm going to buy it if I can afford it, no?
Yes,
Now,
yes.
how does your company approach this pharmaceutical company-doctor relationship? Do you have do you
We-
work with doctors as well?
Well, not the way the big pharmaceutical companies do, no. Well, you should know that there is a law, a generics law, that the doctors are actually required to indicate the generic name of the medicine.
Is that really practiced?
But they have the option. They have the option.
To write the brand.
They have the option to put the brand,
Yes.
brand name that they want to recommend. So there is that law. Now, in the implementation, maybe some doctors do not do it exactly
Yeah, because
that
I've
way.
been to maybe half a dozen doctors in the last 2
Yeah.
years, and I've never seen anyone put really a generic name. There's always been
Yeah.
a brand.
A brand.
Yes.
Okay. The way we do it in our stores is that we try to educate our consumers that we have this generic counterpart for a specific
Yes.
product, and we explain the benefits, and we leave it up to them to decide what they want to
Yeah.
buy. If they will insist that okay, I'm going to buy the Norvasc, then we're going to give them the Norvasc if it's available.
Do you guys feel pressure from, let's say, the major pharmaceutical companies
No.
I
Is there
don't
any
think so.
pressure?
No.
Because
Like,
they
no,
are
you
also
guys-
our partners.
Because as you mentioned, they're actually shifting
Into generic.
to generics.
Correct.
Plus, we also carry branded medicine. So
Yeah.
basically, some of the multinational companies, they are also our partners.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
The
Now,
reason,
yep,
now, just
please.
to explain, the reason we carry branded is because one, not all medicines are off patent,
Okay, okay.
and two, even if there is a generic equivalent, sometimes some new customers will insist on the branded, despite our efforts to educate and so on. So at least we can serve his requirements.
Yes.
So that
yes.
gives him a reason to come back.
Come back.
When he comes back, we talk to him again about maybe you want to substitute with generics.
Explain it again.
And after a while, usually they try. And then they become what we call converts.
When
get
you mentioned earlier, Mr. Ferrer,
Yes.
that Filipinos or consumers have to be careful where to buy these
Yes,
generic medicines.
correct.
That statement alone is kind of loaded because it belays a lot of the reasons for the fear of people of generic medicine. How do people know where to go to buy good quality generic, aside from generic? I mean, what are the main criteria to look for when you go and say, okay, I want to buy generic medicine today? What would you recommend
Okay,
for
first,
to
the
consumers?
drugstore should be FDA registered. So
Okay.
it has the license to operate. And the products should also be, I don't know if you're aware with the proliferation of counterfeit medicines. These are fake medicines proliferating in the market right now. That's basically one of the, one of the hindrance na encounter namin with regards to generic, because
Yes.
people have the misconception that these are generic
Yes.
products.
Yes.
So it's very important for you to find out a reputable drugstore, and you can ask the store personnel if the products are FDA registered, and if you have doubts, you can ask for the CPR just to validate.
CPR?
Yeah.
Yeah.
CPRs are certificate of product registration, which is a
Okay.
proof that the product is really registered with the FDA. So if you have doubts, you can ask the store personnel, do you have the CPR for this specific product? And then even for the labels, you can see it. It's written there. DR, it's drug registration, plus a series of numbers, which validates if the product is really FDA registered.
You know, the problem with that is these days it's almost easy. It's almost
Yeah.
it's possible to make a bogus carton, a
Correct,
bogus label.
correct,
It's very easy to forge
Correct.
things. So
Yes, correct.
how do you go around this?
You can always go to the FDA to check.
Mm.
Check if the drugstore is a legitimate drugstore. Check
Yeah.
with the FDA if the product is really registered.
Yes, yes. Okay, so Generica, what do you guys do, Mr. Fair, in your company to kind of reassure customers that you guys are selling quality stuff?
Well, the bottom line, I would think, is that when you buy from a particular drugstore, that the medicine makes you well. That's one. I think that's obvious, because if I buy here and then nothing happens, then you should really start thinking twice. No? The other one is, well, look at the appearance of the establishment. Is it like, are they serious? I mean, does it look professional? Because some medicines are being sold in sari-sari stores.
Yes,
So
yes.
that one, you're not really sure about the source of their medicines. And let me go back to what I said about temperature. No, the same batch of medicines manufactured in the same plant. Some will go to a drugstore where it is not air conditioned. The other goes into an air conditioned where the temperature is controlled. If it's summer, actually the efficacy will not be the same. This is exactly
It will be affected
the
by
same.
the heat.
It can be affected by the temperature.
And in Generica's case, all your drugstores nationwide
Are air conditioned except
Except for
the ones
Baguio.
in Baguio.
for obvious reasons.
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that a big problem here, Ms. Ulit, in the Philippines? Drugs being maintained at temperatures that are inappropriate.
Yeah, definitely. Because Philippines is a tropical country, so you can just imagine nagsuswitch from mainit, malamig, and that's humidity. So naapektuhan, the efficacy of the product is affected.
And I see a lot of drugstores, and I go to the countryside a lot. I see a lot of drugstores that are not air conditioned.
Yes.
Including
Yes.
some of the bigger ones, even
Yeah.
some of the branches of the big drugstore chains are air conditioned.
If you would notice, sa packaging ng medicines, it is clearly stated that storage temperature should be kept at 25 degrees. Obviously, especially during summer, it's not
Wow,
25
yes. It
degrees.
goes to
So you can
35,
just
40.
imagine,
Yeah.
yung food nga, di ba, kapag nainitan, napapanis, what more yung gamot? It's chemicals.
At least in Generic's case, you guys really keep
Yes.
all your...
And even our warehouse is air conditioned.
Also air conditioned.
Yes.
That's good to know. I think it's very reassuring for the customers,
Yes.
for the clients, and people watching us to go to, when they go to a generic drugstore, then at least it's all, you guys have done a lot to really maintain the efficacy of the drugs there. Anyway, hold that thought, guys, and because we have to pause for a break, but don't go away because in a few moments we'll come back with more of Generics here in Philippines Uncut. Stay tuned.